Hello and welcome to an episode of Ask a Dungeon Mistress. I am your host today. My name is Becky Rose, but it's not just Ask a Dungeon Mistress. It's Ask a Dungeon Mistress and Dungeon Master, because I have here today Matt. Introduce yourself and
Hello.
shit.
Oh, thanks. Okay. Hello, I'm Matt, formerly known as Matt and Shit, apparently. Um, I, so I am DM Critical Fail. So I've got a channel, and there are videos coming. So before you start making any comments, there are videos on the way, and I'm hoping, fingers crossed, first video will be out by tail end of the week or the weekend. So keep posted.
So there you go. So yes, you can go subscribe to Matt's channel. He's just starting up on YouTube, and I know he's a veteran GM. I've been playing a game with Matt, and he's been a font of knowledge with the rules. Although I still do need to double check that whole Constitution bonus on a short rest. Maybe I should have asked myself a question. And get the bloody rule book out.
I'll type one in now for you. There you go.
But I don't know the answer. that doesn't help. There is, however, one question I do know the answer to, but some people I've been playing with are doing it wrong. Which camera am I on? That one. You're doing it wrong, Stuart. No, not that Stuart. The other, that Stuart. Look, I actually know two people called Stuart who run games. So, but it's not just the players too. They're doing it wrong, and we're going to fix it.
Is going to be a little rant that you're going to go off on?
No, it's going to be a friendly tutorial. I decided to do it online on a video because I'm sure other people are making the same error, because it kind of feels right and D&D 5th edition to do it the way they're doing it, but it isn't. And what they're doing, and I think it's a natural thing to do, is, especially as the rule that discusses how to do it, on page 177 is in a little green inset box, not on the main body of the page.
Yeah.
See, I even double-checked my facts before answering this, and I was right. I haven't raised this during the game at all, and I'm not naming and shaming. This is just because I think they're getting it wrong, and when I read the rules, I'm thinking, yeah, other people must be getting this wrong too. And it's basically stealth. When I think this kind of actually dates back to, or not dates back to, but comes from computer games, because in computer games for years the AIs have been so simplistic and so what's the word? Basically not up to much cop. That what they do when you go into stealth in a computer game, they fade out your character so it's transparent, and then you run around being all sneaky and stealthy because you're hidden, and usually the penalty is you move a bit slower, same as D&D.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's neither the rules, nor is it realistic, nor is it fantasy. It's just
not.
It's not. It's a bodge job for computer games where the AIs traditionally have been a bit sucky. So what you're actually meant to do is, you first of all you declare that you do yes, do that. No. The first thing you're meant to do when you're going to do something stealthily is you do that thing stealthily. You don't go, I make a stealth check.
No.
And roll the dice. Oh, look, I've got one here. I can do the sound effect. And you don't do it because, like, it's not like, oh, I'm going to sit here. I rolled a 17. I'm completely invisible for everything that I do because I've got +8 on stealth. So I've got 25. No one can see. No, declare what you're going to do, because when you're trying to move stealthily, that's what you're trying to move. I'm going to try and sneak up behind the goblin and stab him in the back by surprise. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. Then we make the stealth check, and I actually rolled a 17 again. It's probably a wasted dice. I need to go watch my dice cheats video, make sure I didn't just half roll that. No, so declare what you're going to do, not declare that you're going to stealth and then go on to do other things.
Yeah.
Because what you're going to do can modify that result. So, but I'll get back to modifying the difficulty in a moment, because that's the next part people, or rather GMs, sometimes get wrong, is they set a DC for the stealth check. Like in their mind, they might be thinking, right, I'm going to set a DC of 18 for this. So your rogue goes, oh, I actually rolled a 19 this time. This is lucky dice tonight. I'm keeping this.
Where are them dice when we're playing Clockwork Opera?
Same ones. Although I used Dice Stream last week, but so so that the DC is not set by the GM thinking it, although I'll get back to that. It's also not sent by a perception roll. The monster doesn't get a perception roll. It's their passive perception that's used. 10 plus wisdom bonus.
Yep.
That's the difficulty of the stealth check.
Yeah.
So the passive perception, and the passive perception is important here because that's the creature's awareness when they're not actively looking for someone. So if their action is to actively look for someone, that's when they get a passive check.
Mm.
But you might be thinking, well, sometimes situationally, it would be easy. Why is it a fixed DC? But it actually isn't. According to the D&D rulebook, if the player has advantage or disadvantage, you can plus or minus 5 to the DC.
Yeah.
But that is D&D oversimplifying things and being consistent. The truth is, it's absolutely reasonable to add a +2 if you feel +2 is more appropriate, or +5, plus it, whatever bonus or penalty you think is appropriate is fine. The point I'm making is it's against the passive perception of the monster. So please stop doing it wrong.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I always say from word go is, the books are really good and you'll get a lot of information, but at the end of the day, it's a guide. It's not sort of like the Dungeon Master's Bible, although it is quite a good book. It's there as a guide. So like Becky says, yes, the rule says if you're supposed to have an advantage against the passive perception roll, then you add 5. If it's really dark and they don't have a torch or they don't have dark vision, but they are looking for something because they heard a noise because one of the party was a little bit clumsy, rather than +5, give them +2. You know, modify it as the dungeon, as the dungeon master, modify it as you want to modify it, but use the book as a guide.
Yeah, and I do think actually D&D. I kind of hate the skill system in D&D. I think it's kind of woefully inadequate.
Yeah.
I especially hate leveling up with the skills on leveling up. I've just had an instruction from one of my players in tomorrow's game not to use these dice against her tomorrow. Wow. Let's get it up on screen. Look.
I'm going to guess who it is. Is it Steffi?
It is Steffi, yeah.
Steffi?
Oh, I can't get it past you. Ah, no, I've cleared. Oh, sick.
Oh, no, not again.
Now, look, if I delete my cookies and I just log back in again, yeah, I can fix this. Oops, that's my email address, by the way, everyone. Ta-da! There we go. It's probably go, no, you've got my picture on screen. I'm like, yes, woman, we actually have your video feed on screen usually, so deal with it.
She's even face palming as well for you. There you go.
Yeah, she's all ready for it. But yes, this is Ask a Dungeon Mistress and Ask a Dungeon Master. That means you can ask your questions in the chat and we'll answer them. But if you don't, we're going to talk bollocks at you for about an hour and a half. How does that sound? So get those questions in. So the other thing I kind of got prepared, I have an unboxing, but it can't be an unboxing. It's in an envelope.
An unenveloping.
Is that what it should be called? An unenveloping? Doesn't roll off the tongue, does it? All about unlettering. But that unlettering feels like you're erasing stenciled letters or something, isn't it? You know, got letter stencils and you're peeling them up with a scalpel.
This is why we need your questions. This is why we need questions. This is what we're going to talk about.
But it does usually take 20-30 minutes to get going.
Oh dear. Well, would you like to quickly talk about your question about the resting as well?
But I don't know the answer.
I do.
So, ask a shit dungeon mistress.
Well, here you go. the question that we had was about short rests, and when you use your hit dice to recover your character's hit points, does your Constitution modifier get added? I believe was a question.
Yeah. I think I've got the page open.
186.
Oh no, I haven't. Okay.
186 under resting, a short rest. And it does say character can spend one or more hit dice at the end of a short rest up to the character's maximum number of hit die, which is equal to the character's level, blah, 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 yada, yada, all that sort of stuff.
I've seen
and
it.
You add the character's Constitution modifier, so I
Yep.
am right.
He is right. In my defense, I never said you're right. I actually asked the question, is what actually happened. But then, and then I'm like, is that right? Afterwards, I'm like, I'm not sure it is. It doesn't feel right. Because, like, if you've got a, like, +6 Constitution bonus and D8 or D10 hit die, it's like, why would you bother with the dice?
Yeah.
You know?
Sometimes when I'm homebrewing it, sometimes I will say for a short rest you don't add the Constitution modifier, so that it sort of like encourages everybody to take the longer rests. So for me,
yeah, I don't like players taking long rests all the time because, like, you know,
no, not all the time, but for me as well in my homebrew world, when I do like campaigns and things like that, I always try to do sort of big sort of storylines going on in the background, so the characters they're doing their little bits and pieces that are affecting odd little bits, but then there's an overarching story going on in the background. And I think it might be the way I do my storylines, but quite a lot of the time I don't feel enough times being progressed for the actual overarching storyline to go through. So players taking long rests for me isn't an overly big issue, but again, each to their own, really.
Do you do adventures with a lot of travel in them, or is it you go to a location?
If I have anything where there's going to be a lot of travel, I will try to. The easiest way of explaining it for me is I try to think of it as like an MMO RPG video game. So you go to a place and there will be a lot of time spent in that one area, and then when you need to travel, you do a bit of traveling, and then you're in another area for a bit of time. So it's not you're in location A, you have to go to location B, which is 3 days away, to then come all the way back to then go over to somewhere else. And I find those really irritating, to be honest. So every time I'm making like a little village, it'll be a small village with farms and things like that, and there's something happening within that community that needs to be sorted out, or they can just say no, it's not our problem, they walk off, which a couple of them have done before. Make up a little bit of an area and sort out some stuff to happen, so you get some characters and backgrounds and things like that going in one area, and then when they're happy that it's concluded in that area, then they can move on to the next one.
Because I tend to do like epic scale campaigns and stuff, and that tends to involve lots of travel. It's like I like my planets to be threatened by explosioning from the inside and things, and gods being really pissed off and about to destroy the world or remake it or something. I was like, I did like what I did there. I think I'll start over.
I think most of my campaigns that I do, like homebrew stuff, must start after yours, because quite a lot of mine start on Shard World. So like it's been a planet that's exploded, and it's just like part of the planet still got the atmosphere and everything like that. And
that's actually, I thought I was being original. Damn it!
No.
We've had a question. We have. They've arrived. The viewers are tuning in. Actually, I had a fair few when I looked a moment ago. It's like, we've got 7 now. Down slightly, but there it's cool. 7. But actually, for something that isn't pre-promoted or anything, that's pretty cool.
What are you doing with your lives? Go outside. No, don't.
Fuck, this show depends on these viewers. Fuck off. Welcome to my channel, Matt. Thank you for telling my users to go somewhere else. So, Drakgast asks, I have an idea where a player visits a huge city where there are a lot of different races. There will be dwarves, elves, humans, drow, halflings, tieflings, and more. It's supposed to be a continued. A neutral city, but that will not stop different races from fighting each other regardless. How do I handle something holding up the rules neutrality? Well, I keep saying there should be no such thing as a human city, as an elf city, as a dwarf city. Migration always happened. There were black Vikings. Right? That's just fact.
Yeah.
Migrations have always been a part of civilization. So you will always have, like, even in the most human city possible, there will be a little dwarf quarter, or a little, or even if not a dwarf quarter, an aliens quarter or something. You know, the elves up living up in their trees will have a few humans staying there, and a few hobbits, and because there's humans who like trees. I mean, I don't have hay fever, or at least I used to. I don't seem to suffer it anymore. But there was a time in my life where I wanted to concrete over the whole world. But my point is, there should be no such thing as a city that doesn't have more than one race in it. And even a village may have a few people who aren't. And why not throw a half orc into a village location and have them a bit out of the normal place? Because oddly enough, in many ways, that feels more realistic. But yes, so that being said, you obviously want to have a very cosmopolitan city, and I think there's two ways of doing that. You can either take the sort of the normal fantasy approach, have it be a harbour town, so it's got lots of trade coming through. This is probably a city that survives on its trade, because to have so much vested interest from people who started off in different regions to have come there, then it would definitely have good trade links. So there'll be good big markets, there'll be bazaars. And I think in terms of policing and holding up rules and stuff like that, well, who's the king or queen or other government system of this city? Because when I world build, I don't know about you, Matt, but one of the first things I do is I decide what government type it is. Is this a monarchy? Is it a dictatorship? Is it a fascist regime? Is it a communist state? Is it a city state? There's all these different forms of government, and the game I'm running at the moment has a geniocracy in it. And I didn't even know what that word meant. I had to Google it. So, it's ruled by the intelligent. So I have this group called the Intelligentsia, and every year there's an exam. And if you pass the exam, you become an Intelligentsia. Of course, it's nigh on impossible, and it's an incredibly corrupt process, but that's the way these things work. But once you know what kind of government it is, it then kind of naturally works out as to who would be enforcing the rules. Like in my fascist regime, for example, I have a dwarven city that has these they're fascists, so they have this regime that controls everything, and so the society is split into basically three parts: the political regime, the army, and civilians. And you will not get a non-dwarf in the political regime or the army. There's just too much racism.
Yeah.
They won't have a non-dwarf. They're all about being pure-blooded and stuff. That hardcore right-wing mentality that you used to get in World War II. So I think, and in the Republican Party today in America, and to a certain extent in Britain, with David Cameron going, "Oh, Syrian refugees, I know what'll solve that: airstrikes." So yeah, work out what type of government it is, and then the policing will just naturally work out from there.
Yeah.
You were yelling. I dominated the camera. I'm sorry, Matt. How do you world build? How do you figure this out?
If I'm doing something like a homebrew world again, it tends to come up with sort of like the larger cities and find out, how is that city going to govern itself? Is it going to be a monarchy? Is it going to be a democracy? And keep it fairly basic. The one thing I tend to do is actually look at cultures from history. So I will have one that will be possibly based around like a Roman style sort of city. So they'll have like the city guard in big plumes and everything like that, but they'll have sort of like an emperor as the sort of like the top man. Have a look at like Greeks, Egyptians, and things like that. But if you're trying to do something different in regards to how everything's holding up, you could have like a council. So they can have sort of like nominated members of each of the different races that populate the city, and they're in sort of like almost like the Houses of Parliament or Congress or something similar. So all the rules are, the rules go in, they're debated, and then if it's anything like reality, nothing really happens and comes back out of it. You can have, almost like a dictatorship. So you've got one person at the top, and that's it.
Yeah, I always saw myself as an empress.
I wonder why. But honestly, it just depends. Also, fit the if you're really struggling with how to have the city governing itself, what's the overlay? If it's a campaign, what's your idea of the campaign, and what's the campaign going to be like? What's the campaign? Where's it going? And it might be that you turn around and say, well, the campaign is going to run from A to B to C, and at point B, this is where the majority of the city comes in, and therefore the players are going to find it really difficult to get through. You might then turn around and go, right, it's quite a corrupt city, so there's a lot of things happening, and all the members of the party are races that are quite low down in the sort of like the hierarchy of this city because of X, Y, and Z. And you can start building a city government just around what you want your campaign and what you want your party to do. So all I'd say is just keep your options open, and then if the party gets swamped down, or then I don't want to say it's not going the way you want it to go, because obviously it's not a GM story, it's a group story. But I've had it before where there's a monarchy and it was really dragging, and so at the end of one of the sessions I came in and said, right, the king's been assassinated, and then the following week it was an entirely new governmental system, because there was lots of new warlords coming in and fighting over different areas, and everything got messy because I wanted to try and get the party out of the city.
Cool. So there you go, Dragcast. I hope that gives you some inspiration for how to solve that problem. Oh, sorry. Did you want to say more?
No. I was going to apologise if that's not what you want. I apologise for wasting your time.
I wouldn't know. I wasn't listening to you. This is my brother.
Okay.
I've played him 4 times at this game called Silent Death, which is an old spaceship game. I played him 4 times recently, and 4 times. I keep beating him. Basically, I'm using the same dice as him, same ships as him. The one game I lost is where we did this one scenario from the book, and I won, and then we swapped sides, and well, by then it was clear what tactic to use, and he thrashed me. But yeah, I mean, this I'm going to show you this actually. This is what I'm currently playing around with. So I just got a load of micro machines, and I got Star Wars.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do Silent Death in Star Wars. So
Nice.
That's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to that. But yes, I use the same dice as you, you idiot. No, she doesn't.
A bad person always blames his opponent.
More complaining.
So ask a dungeon mistress why she cheats at a game that.
It's his bloody PDF. Damn it.
Is this all the questions now? You're just going to be your brother complaining about?
That's sore loser, I'd say. Sore loser. How about she's really intelligent and keeps beating me because she's got a great strategic mind? No? No? Fuck.
I would, but my bra's a little tight this evening.
I tell you what, I will flash my boobs from when I was 14.
Oh dear.
Moving on. Why wasn't that question clear? Fuck.
I agreed to do this because I thought it was going to be an intelligent sort of conversation. I didn't realise.
It has been. Now we've opened it up to the floor.
Oh.
I think, okay, so Paul Byrne says, unfortunately, I am Matt. Now, I don't know if that's he's saying, unfortunately, I am, comma, Matt, or if he's saying, he's you.
I don't know.
I don't know. It must have been something we said a while ago because like a load of chat happened at once. So I don't know, but he's
Was that when
finishing
I
his
told?
skeleton, so he's painting. So
Cool.
Paul, I hope your skeletons come out awesome. They are in fact the easiest things to paint ever. Skeletons, because like white dry. No, you can't even dry brush them. Ink wash, white ink wash, done.
Yeah.
But I'm sure if there are ways to make them better and stuff.
Don't
But
even use white. I use like a cream color, but yeah.
yeah. Oh, thank you for that session, brother.
I'll say if that's a way of him saying that you cheat
Oh.
in games, that's really cryptic.
No, this relates to the Drakgast
City,
question.
yeah.
Yes, Chinatown in every city.
Mm.
Yes. Oh, for fuck's sake! You've
Oh,
already
dear.
seen them.
Yeah.
Moving on. Right. Concerning rest, long and short, and healing potions, what are your thoughts on alternatives to magical healing, and how should one roleplay or state the rules for mundane healing? Well, D&D, I think, is critically flawed. In fact, all hit point systems are critically flawed in that as you get wounded, you're not debilitated. I've been working on my own homebrew system in recently, and one of the things I've done is you get more debilitated as you get wounded, even though it's a hit point system, because it's wrong. What I do when I'm playing a character is I'll often role play injured, but that's not in the mechanics, so it doesn't really it doesn't kind of fit with D&D if you just played it in a vanilla way without introducing that yourself. Because what some people argue is that, well, your hit points aren't going down because you're getting wounded. It's only one thing that kills you, and it's when you run out of hit points. That's your hero's luck. And when you run out of that, that's when you're finally struck. But I've never liked that,
No.
because that's like, I've just been critical for 85 damage and the monster hasn't hit me. No,
Yeah.
it fucking hit me
Yeah,
for 85 damage. I have a gash in my leg and my my boobs are on display because my arm has been split.
Is this going to be the new word now? Boobs.
Yes, it's well, that's two requests, and we've only been going a few minutes.
Yeah, I always find this one a bit tricky with wounds and stuff because I don't consider myself to have hit points. And if I sort of fall over and graze my knee or something, I don't think, oh, I've just lost a hit point. I'm going to have to take a short rest to get my hit points back or anything.
Well, you might do if it's like really hurting, because I've spent a few minutes going fuck, give me a minute, I'll catch you up.
Yeah, but you don't roll a d6 or something, do you, to regain those hit points?
No, I just use my Constitution modifier because it's massive.
Yeah. Yeah, but in regards to the like the mundane healing and things like that, I don't know really. It's a bit of a tricky one because it really depends on your players and how they do it. Because as a dungeon master, you can't really sort of say, I don't even know what you'd say, but when I'm an actual player, I will try to sort of say, well, I've got a massive gash on my leg because I've just taken a massive, some barbarians come out with a massive sword and done a massive amount of damage, so I'm clearly bleeding out somewhere, and so I need to try and do something to sort of either prolong my life or try and eliminate the threat, which is obviously this big bloke with a massive sword, but possibly even giving myself disadvantage. But then when it comes to the end of that combat and you're trying to heal yourself, again, it's that thing, there's short rests and long rests and things. Other than that, you've got the medicine roll, but all that does is stabilize.
Yeah, that's something which people do wrong a lot as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like the GM kind of makes it up on the spot. Okay, I'll set a DC and I'll give you back some nominal hit points, but the medicine really is. Again, it kind of mechanically it kind of works in that hit points being you're fine until your last hit, because it's the only time the medicine roll comes in is that I put bandages on them. And I always kind of wonder why that's even a skill check, because like it's putting bandages over a wound.
Yeah.
You know, it's...
I mean, I personally use it as a dungeon master when, you know, I say, oh, you found, you know, 3 vials. There's one green one, one blue one, and one, you know, red one. Oh, what are they? I'll say, right, make a medicine roll. Because 9 times out of 10, if you find vials of different color stuff, it's going to be a potion of some description. So it's like, you know, rather than Arcana,
Yeah, that's
I
actually
use
quite cool.
medicine.
Stealing it.
To go for it, help yourself. But yeah, I try to use the medicine roll for other things other than just stabilizing, because otherwise there's just no point in having it.
No,
But
no.
other than that, you've got things like your bandages, and you've got, you know, different things like that, and you can sort of homebrew different things. You know, I'm going to bandage someone, you know, that's quicker than a short rest. So if you don't want to waste 4 hours with your constitution and your hit roll and your hit dice, you can say, I'm going to bandage someone, and that will miraculously give them, say, a D4 hit points back or something. Or it's, for me, it's always been a tricky one, and I'm still trying to work things out for healing and things like that. That's not long and short rests and magical potions, but
Yeah, I mean, you could argue that on a short rest, for example, where you're getting your hit die back, to some extent, that might just be getting your breath back.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you know, and that sounded more like an asthmatic having sex, but the,
What an image.
that just reminded me of something, but I don't dare say it. My brother's
I'm
watching.
going to say your brother's in, so be careful.
Yeah, well, it's not my fault. His girlfriend was noisy. Um, shit, I'm in it now.
Oh,
I am so in it now. So anyway, that hopefully that helped you, Balfour. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce your surname. I have no idea how. No, I can't. I'm sorry. Well,
we all
yeah,
think,
yeah, I'm back.
we all think that. So
Come on, thingy. There we go. Oh, yep. I'm glad you're entertained. Okay, so I'm laughing to death asks, what are some things you can do to remind other player that a character is much older than they might appear? That's interesting because I'm actually playing a 78-year-old Dragonborn in a game I'm playing in at the moment. And so what is the things I do with her? It's very hard to talk like an old person when you're role playing, because of course I've no personal experience of it. I'm very young, you see. I'm not conscious about my age at all. No, 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 no. So yes, I tend to go off on my own tangent mentally when I'm playing her. It's all part of the characterization, and so that that's a big part of it. But one thing I never do is I never go charging around like a lunatic. I'm far too old for that, my darling. My hips not quite what it used to be. So I walk places and at most jog. I don't take dash actions anywhere.
you have 2 speeds tottering, and
and I'll get around to it.
yeah.
And yeah, so but I think it's there's something to be careful of here. It's like if you were playing a person that was of a different race to you, would you play that stereotype? And you could do the same thing with age. So yes, bring some aspects of old age into your character, but always make sure that they have a character too. One of the things my character does is, that's a terribly designed bridge, but luckily, in my travels, I've collected notes on various designs of bridges, so I've got here some schematics. I've got several copies of all, it's fine. I'm going to just pin this to the bridge, so whoever built it, when they come along, they can fix it.
How is your character not dead? I would have killed your character long ago.
It's harsh, man, harsh.
I know, but for me, this also can do a flip onto if you're playing a really young character. You know, you're not going to take a 6-year-old onto a quest or anything like that. So first of all, it depends on your race. You know, elves live for about 700 odd years, I think it is, according to the D&D 5th edition book.
Yeah, they're prepubescent till 100, aren't they?
Something like that, yeah. But you're not going to take an elf who's 720 or something, are you? Because they're going to be, on the verge of, possibly on the verge of death of some description or something like that. So, again, the way I look at it is you have your bookends, so you're not going to accept any characters below a certain age, and you won't accept anyone who's within a certain bracket of the last sort of years. I mean, you can still play the
They've got to be fit to adventure. That's the key, isn't it?
Yeah. But if you're just playing if you're playing them, personally, the first thing I would do is think about how old your character is going to be when you're actually doing your character creation. And the first thing I would do is think, right, well, the strength isn't going to be a very high, so possibly even making that your dump stat, regardless of what class you are, because of old age and frailties and stuff, and start putting your higher points into things like wisdom, because you've got more street savvy and things like that.
I think that does work well for the mammalian races, but I would argue actually with something like a dragonborn or a tiefling, it doesn't necessarily need to be the case.
Possibly not. Yeah, possibly not a dragonborn or a tiefling or something like that, but just
The only reason I mention that is in self-defense because my character's a dragonborn and
right,
+2 strength.
Yeah.
You were stepping on my toes there, Matt. So I'm doing it wrong.
I'll stamp harder next time, but yeah, if you're looking at playing a more elderly adventurer, pick a race and have a look, read through the backgrounds of the race, because that might give you some ideas. Like I say, you're not going to put a dump stat in something like strength or something. You might put in something else, but you might get an idea that in downtime, an elf is always talking about forests and the fae that they used to live in and friends that they used to have and things like that. And
one of the things as you get older is you attend a lot more funerals than you do weddings.
Exactly, yeah.
You talk about old friends who've passed on, and some of those friends may have been your teeth, because you're all gone now, no teeth left. Because I'm a lizard.
I do apologise. I'm
Should we move on?
I think we better.
Hello, Robert.
Hello. That's an easy one. Ha ha ha.
That's my brother again. He finds something amusing. Possibly, you know what I find amusing? It's his ability to play Silent Death.
This is personal really quickly, isn't it?
So I'm laughing to death has asked, Becky, have you taken one of those what D&D race class are you tests? And if so, what was the result? Probably, but I can't remember. Oddly, I don't see those kind of quizzes appear on my Facebook anymore. But I think if I was to do it, I would have to be something with good constitution and good charisma, naffle strength, naffle dexterity, and a bit of intelligence, hopefully, and my brother would argue no wisdom. But I don't know, is it possible to do a character that's all 18s and 3s? That's how I see. I'm not 18 con. I'm somewhere in the strong for my race.
You could do a really, 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 really dodgy point buy at some point.
I'm going to min-max this one.
Totally min-max.
How can I not min-max when I play her when I min-max as a person? Yeah, it's interesting. I think I'd have to go for Dragonborn because the halitosis. No, I'm not sure. I'd like to think of myself as a non-religious paladin. How about that? The agnostic paladin. Be an agnostic paladin.
Well, yeah.
That should be a thing.
Technically, could you technically be classed as an oathbreaker?
No, I think you'd need to do a new prestige class called ambivalent.
Wow.
I would respond to that, but I don't care. Yes. I don't know. Let me see, because I don't know. I'm a show off, so I'd probably be a bard.
I can see.
'Cause-
Yeah, I can see
Yeah,
that coming up.
yeah, yeah. I suck at music though.
All right.
This is my ukulele.
Not particular. Oh my god, it's purple.
Well, it's one of my ukulele. I have two.
All
It's
right.
not just purple. It's punked up. Look.
Oh, it is punked up.
Yeah, it's got some instructions on the side. If you can, I need to get. Hang on.
What does it say? Pluck strings.
To do, learn a fifth chord.
Fair enough.
So yeah, it's out of tune.
Mm.
Takes ages to tune this. So that's quite bad. I think we'll put that down. It's not survived the ambient temperature changes in the room. So I could be an appalling bard because I can't sing either. I suck at ukulele. I suck at guitar. Could I be? Because like I'm quite old though, so I tell stories.
Mm.
So because like I'm not totally not getting old at all.
If you
Menopause a long way off.
If you go and buy miniatures that you can buy in miniature ranges, the Pathfinder, the Rusty Dragon, they
You
have.
calling me a dragon?
No. Think yourself lucky. When I first saw the designs for the packaging, I genuinely thought it said the Busty Dragon. So that's one thing that they've corrected me on. But they do have a dwarf bard with a massive drum. So
Hang on, I'm looking for it. All right, let's bring this up. A dwarf with a. Is it this set here?
well, what they do is they sell them in packs. So you get like one large miniature, and then you get like I think it's like 3 smaller miniatures. There you go.
Is that the one? That
That's the
dwarf
one,
with the drum?
Yeah.
I did used to play drums when I was at school. I was actually pretty good at drums, but when I left school, the company I worked for, they didn't pay the wages one Christmas, so I sold my kit to buy presents for my brother.
It wasn't Silent. It wasn't that game, was it?
Sorry?
It wasn't that game, was it?
No, I didn't get him that with it. I can't remember presents I've bought for other people or received. It's just too many years. Do you know how many alcohol and drugs have been since I was that age? I can't answer that. Dibs on testing new system.
Oh, you're referring to your own rules.
Yes.
I'm first in queue.
See, testing's actually already underway.
I know.
And it's done in person, not online. So, Matt is shit out of luck. Well, you know what? What I am gonna do is like a lot of YouTubers are gonna get copies of it, and Matt doesn't yet qualify because he hasn't put a video up. So
video of me looking at the camera for like 30 seconds just so I can qualify.
300 plus subs, dear. Lawful evil. I beg your pardon.
It's certainly not lawful.
Fucking chaotic, thank you very much. Lawful evil. God, when have I ever obeyed a rule? I got the D&D book. I wrote my own system. I mean, God, that's cutting deep. That is.
You gotta say you couldn't even do it as Agnes for more than like 2 seconds. You had to start to go very quickly.
And Paladin. I'll play a Paladin straight to Oathbreaker.
Yep.
My brother is still complaining that I kept beating him a silent death. Get over it. Wow. Mind you, he is still 6. He doesn't like losing.
Oh dear.
If you've watched my games at all, you'll know it's my favourite kind of damage, and I do consider it a form of damage because the problem with hit points is so easily recovered in D&D Fifth because it doesn't have a decent wound system, and it's the way you recover your hit points. Especially as you get your Constitution bonus on a short rest die, hit die. Do you get it? You do. You get it for each die, don't you? That's just incredible. Is it? What if it's a negative? You're gonna have to take a penalty on each die. I recover 0 hit points. Oh no, I've just lost 2 more.
Yeah.
But no, I love the exhaustion mechanic and I use it a lot. Whenever I get my characters, to go through long periods of exertion, I'll give them a choice. One of those options will result in exhaustion, but it will accomplish what they want, and the other one is, doesn't get them to what they want to achieve. And by doing that, they volunteer themselves into ever increasing peril, because once they're exhausted and you throw an encounter at them, if they've got a couple of levels of exhaustion, they're getting disadvantage on everything, and it's a good mechanic. But I tend not to do it. I try to have some players or some characters exhausted, some not exhausted.
Yeah, it's one that you need to be really careful about not using too much as well. As soon as you get everybody in the party starting to go down exhaustion routes and you start throwing monsters at them, it's going to be tricky.
Yeah, I like to have a couple of characters exhausted and then some okay, and then hopefully later on in the adventure it'll be different characters exhausted and some others are okay and stuff, because you do need that person who's just able to function without disadvantage on everything. But the idea is to challenge the players, and you can make ordinary monsters incredibly challenging. I have done encounters where I've exhausted everybody with a level of exhaustion because they were marching up this. I did this dwarven citadel where the outer walls went up to the clouds and there were stairs up. Because you think like a dwarf, you think really defensively, and I thought, well, why not have a defensive wall that's so big you get the level of exhaustion to get up, rest at the top, and then in the next day you come down. And absolutely exhausting. So of course they landed at the bottom with a level of exhaustion, which isn't too bad to have one level of exhaustion. The problem starts to happen when you get 2, and that's when exhaustion really starts to hurt. When I did that particular one, I managed to get one player onto 2 levels of exhaustion and everybody else on 1. And I chucked 30 kobolds at them. No, it's fine. They were like level 2 or something. Probably about 3 by that point, I think. But the kobolds are nothing. I threw in a magic user just to spice it up, and terrain that worked in the kobold's favour.
There's a couple of bugbears, and a dragon turns up.
But the disadvantage was the barbarian, the guy who'd had 2 levels of exhaustion, was so adamant that he was going to rest off this exhaustion. He refused to take part in the fight, and I actually felt a bit bad for the player, because then, of course, they're sidelined.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's his own choice not to take part. I was trying to get him to push on and go through all of these levels of exhaustion.
Interesting choice as well. All your friends are fighting, and you're just under a tree. Just carry on.
Yeah. I think it's actually, he probably wrote that when I mentioned his asthmatic girlfriend in his Is that a sweaty smiley, or is that a smiley that's asthmatic?
Don't want to know.
For fuck's sake. Right, switch camera. Extreme boob close up. For fuck's sake. Right. A badass grandma character. Yes.
Well, Dragonborn says it.
But one of the things that people don't do in D&D is quite almost always characters have no family.
No. Right.
Who are the brothers and sisters? Who are the parents? And
Yeah.
are there children? Is there a marriage?
Mm.
And I think that's a great shame. So it's one of the things I fixed in my homebrew system. But until then, until you sign up for the Kickstarter, whenever I launch it, I don't know. But whatever 50 people buy it. Come on! It's not like a Monty Cook, is it? Not going to go onto Kickstarter and have like 80,000 backers or anything.
You never know. Just title it correctly, and you can pull them in.
What Becky shows her boobs. It's clearly what the audience wants.
Well, you got one backer straight away, apparently.
Yeah. Okay, next question. I don't know how many more we've got. I can't see the queue, but keep making me get my teenage boobs out. Technically, this is paedophilia. Fuck's sake.
I'm getting tempted to.
yeah. Of course, I'm making an assumption. How presumptuous of me.
I know.
Get your top off, Matt.
I might have to, yeah. There you go. Is that there?
Oh, an actual question from Jonathan Spears.
No.
What's the difference between Harry Potter?
No.
Clear post.
Yeah.
Hello, Lord Morbius.
Hello.
Can you talk for a moment, please?
Yes. Hello.
No. Talk properly.
I don't know. What do you want me to talk about? Am I talking to Lord Morbius now?
Yeah, well, I was just getting you to cover it. I was just in the middle of just making sure that guy can't post again.
Fair enough. That's not a problem.
Because that's just I saw for everyone in the chat and it got worse. Oh, well, he can't post anymore. Yeah, moving past it.
Right.
You would cacophonics with. Oh fuck! I've got to Google a word.
Oh dear.
What the fuck is cacophonics? It's cacophonics. I suppose I could Becky it by becacophon. What the?
Has he missed a space? Is it you can be and then?
He is an artist. He's probably spelt it wrong.
Oh right.
The cacophonics. What the hell is cacophonics? I still need to Google that. I have. Seriously, I don't know. What's he saying?
No idea.
It just keeps coming up list of asterisk characters on my Google search. Because cacophonics does sound like someone from Asterix.
It does, yeah.
It has a meaning in Hindi, apparently.
Okay.
I'm trying to get it. It's opening. We're getting there.
Oh, right, okay.
I'll show you because I actually don't know how to translate this.
Oh, blimey.
That's its meaning in Hindi. I don't know. Right. Yeah. I moving on. No ugly adventurers, only hot hunchbacks allowed. I don't know what it's in reference to, but this is obviously she's talking about her character in the game I'm playing with Steffi tomorrow, which you can watch by tuning in to my channel at 7:30 to 8 o'clock BST tomorrow, Tuesday evening. Return of the Winged Trinity, episode 8 or whatever it is. It's been going on so long now, people have stopped watching. This gets no viewers at all.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh. But that always happens. Live streams, like you get like loads of. Well, you don't get loads on a live stream anyway for a live play, but it kind of goes down and down and down until eventually the only person watching is me. So I'm laughing to death says, what funny is when I see people play Dragonborn, they usually play things like bards or wizards. I guess the whole strong warrior race guys thing is already taken by the dwarves and hobgoblins. Well, don't they get bonus charisma?
Yes.
Yeah, that's why.
I think
yeah, sorcerers and bards. Yeah, because people essentially game the system for the maximum bonuses, which I always think is a shame. But it is that kind of power game mentality, play to win and stuff. Or it's like I hope you know that Dawn, my elderly dragonborn, She needs to wear a badge. No, Joshua. No, no. She's a cleric. She has
But they,
not the most appropriate stats for it, but it totally works.
if that is actually the case, it is an interesting decision that they make to use bards or wizards, because they do get a +1 charisma, but they do get a +2 in strength.
Mm.
And every time I've played a Dragonborn, the first one I've gone for is fighter personally. So
I must admit, most of the Dragonborn I've seen have been some kind of fighter.
I normally go fighter just because you get your obviously your AC increase with a shield, and then you've got your breath attack as well.
Mm.
So the way I run a Dragonborn is fighter, armor them up to the teeth, and just literally run in and breath attack things.
Yeah, which is particularly good if you're attacking an American line dance convention.
Cone ones as well.
Have they? No, they're all 30-foot long, 5 feet wide.
No, you've got
What?
the black page 34. Open your textbook, page 34. Black, blue, bronze, black, blue, brass, and bronze and copper are all 5 foot by 30-foot line. But then you've
yeah.
Then you've got your green, gold, red, white, and silver.
Oh crap! I've just realised. Mine's supposed to have a cone.
They are. See,
Sorry.
even we learn things.
Oops. Moving on. Nothing to see here.
No,
Respect my authority. So Caston Pagan Town says, "Hi guys, I have a question. What are your views on magic portals in D&D? Do you use them, and do you let magic users cast them?" Well, I have an answer to this, but I'm going to let Matt go first because I'm going to blow my nose with one of my boobs.
Fair enough. Again, it depends on the setting of your world that you're building. If it's a homebrew world, I have used magic portals more as a case of some sort of ancient race or civilization or something, and they've left these magic portals that either have some sort of clues on them, which also builds towards the overarching campaign story, or it's some sort of quick teleportation. So if you play video games, think of the fast travel mechanic in games like the Fallout series and the Elder Scrolls series, things like that. Do I let magic users cast them? I tend not to, unless they are over a particular level, at which point I would treat it as they have to use a ritual and just fudge some sort of ritual spell up for them, and do it in that way. However, I think if I remember correctly, in all of my games I've DM'd, I think I've only ever done it twice, and as a player I've never seen a magic user being able to actually cast a magic portal myself. But
yeah, I do not let my players cast magical portals. If I did, it would be like a one-off MacGuffin spell for the plot. But the problem is, you give players power like that, they'll abuse it. They'll start using it like Dimension Door on steroids. So I don't. But I have had NPCs cast it. But I did about a year ago. I wanted to teleport the players actually to from a planet to a moon, and yeah, I sometimes do multi-world D&D, but not Space Jammer. I just do high fantasy. But yeah, let's have another planet. I want to change the scenery. So what I did is I thought, you know what, a teleportation is kind of boring, and going through a magic portal, this could be more dramatic. So I got in touch with my special effects supervisor, and I blew the entire budget on this teleportation spell. And what I basically had happen to the players is they were catapulted up and high up, rocketed up into the atmosphere like a NASA launch, and they saw themselves flying through space, going so fast they couldn't breathe. Because in my games, for some reason, you can breathe in space if you're doing it on the back of a dragon or an eagle or something. Because sometimes I want to change the scenery, and all I've got to hand is a giant eagle. So anyway, they and they land in this like a blazing meteor down on the planet's surface, and doing the whole I am Beckinsale in Underworld Landing, or the
Yeah.
Vijayevich Landing, and because there is a pose, isn't there?
Oh,
I
yeah.
think actually, isn't it Deadpool? Didn't they do a joke on it? Was
They
it
did one.
Deadpool?
Yeah. I think it was Deadpool. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the yeah, the landing pose.
Mm,
Yeah. So, but I did it before that joke.
fair enough. You should have
But
copyrighted it. You should have
yeah,
copyrighted it.
I
Yeah.
could be made millions. But look, this Kickstarter just funded recently. I'm gonna bring it up because it's portal related. It got a Cthulhu portal.
Oh wow.
They got more. They got more. They got more. They did some really cool ones. The sci-fi one, we just to go past that. We don't do
Ooh.
sci-fi. So this one is Blood and Bones. It doesn't show up terribly well there. I wonder if there's a color picture.
Those skull ones on the blood and bone ones, they look like fire guards. You go down under the portals.
Oh,
Fire guards.
they're bone barrier things.
It's a fire
Yeah,
guard.
that's right. I quite like this one actually. This ancient portal thingy, like the whirlpool.
Yeah, they look quite cool. I like
Yeah.
those.
Then there's these ones, the sort of hellscape type things. And then there's my favourite somewhere. There it is, Tesla.
That doesn't look dangerous in the slightest, does it?
Yeah. There's another Kickstarter. Hopefully, oh, that's a cool one as well. The crystal one.
The crystal one, yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice one. There's another miniature coming to market very soon, which I do have on my Kickstarter somewhere. I don't know if I can get it up in time. Cover me, Matt. Talk.
Oh no, not again. Yeah, so I don't let players do it, but I do sometimes. I don't know. I've already said my bit on it.
Well, make up some crap.
I know. Well, again, it goes back to what your world is. I mean, like I say,
No, don't new crap.
No. But no, like I say, it depends on what your world is, because like I say, the ones that I tend to use are things like shard worlds, and why not have part of your campaign going on in one part of the shard worlds, but then you have to get to another part of the shard world that's broken off, and the only way you can do it is some sort of magical teleport portal thing. And and if you don't want it to be walk up to this portal and you walk through, then give them some sort of quest where they have to go into dungeons and find ingredients to do it or something, and build a little bit of extra things doing it that way or something.
Found it.
Thanks
so yes,
yeah.
So this portal here, is coming out possibly toward the end of the year from Zealot Miniatures. When I saw that portal, I loved it so much that I backed that Kickstarter and bought one of everything.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
You even get goblins.
I think there were some in there, yeah, but mostly I just want the magic portal.
Fair enough.
Right, let's get the next question up. So, Lord Morbius, I'm arriving late. Is Jenny still feeling sick? Yes, our hearts go out to Jenny. Yes. She's not feeling terribly well today. I don't know what her excuse is.
I have spoken to her. She's feeling better than she did yesterday, and that's all I've got out of her so far. But yes,
she said to me she was feeling mostly okay now, but not good enough to appear on this show. So I brought you on instead.
Well, thanks.
No, I mean no. I'm just shitting with you.
No, you're
not. Look, I may or may not have asked Jenny first.
That's fine. Hey, you're in the sub wars with her. I'm just a.
In the what?
You're in the sub wars.
Sub wars.
Yeah.
Subscription? No, I'm not. I've totally beaten her.
Oh, there you are. I literally am a nobody at the moment.
I know. You need to get your first video. What's your first video going to be?
My first video is going to be part of a series, and I have decided that the series is basically going to be getting brand new people into the hobby. So the first video is literally going to be 3 basic steps, or the 3 main ways of getting into the hobby, which, and I'll give you the spoiler now, is one of your friends asking and what to do and what to expect, buying the box set, and I'm going to be using the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition box set as an example. Obviously other role-playing games are available, and the third one is joining a group such as a Facebook group like the One Shot group and similar, and again what you can expect from them all, and just basic things like that. And so
Okay.
the first series is going to be, talking through, like I say, Dungeons and Dragons as the given, because I think it is still probably the most widely known one for non-RPG players.
Yeah. But I'll be getting my Kickstarter up. So
Oh
no,
yeah,
don't you
yeah.
worry. Yeah. So when are you going to publish this video?
I have been doing some bits and pieces of work on it. I'm hoping to get it recorded within the next couple of days. So
What do you mean doing some bits and
yeah,
pieces on it, but it's not recorded at all?
no. I am working. You are going to be blown away by how basic it is going to be. But
See, what you have to remember is Matt doesn't get much time to make videos.
I'm trying. Ask my wife. I am very trying. No, it's going to be published by the time me and you are going to be next on camera together for the Clockwork Opera on Monday.
That's a week Tuesday. Oh no, it's a week Monday. Yes, you're right.
So it will be up latest Sunday night, Monday morning. I'm hoping to get it up by the end of the week.
You heard it here. Finally, after all these months,
I
he is
know.
committed to launching a video by next Sunday.
Yes.
So Lord Morbius asks, speaking of Jenny being ill, any tips for role-playing a character afflicted with disease? I think we should get Jenny in here to answer that. She's got the most experience.
I'll say it depends on what you mean by disease.
It kind of does. It's a very, very broad thing, isn't it?
It is quite, disease. You can turn around straight away and think of, they've got something. If you're going by Dungeons and Dragons, where it's like a medieval style fantasy sort of game, if you're going down that route, you can think of like medieval sort of diseases like the pox and
Leprosy.
Leprosy and things like that.
The only one I can think of in the book is mummy rot.
Yes, yeah, that's the only one that they do give you. But again, I know I'm promoting somebody else, and I do apologise, Becky.
Oh! Do they have more subs than me?
No, you are clearly beating her, as you keep reminding everybody. In Jenny's campaign, the character I'm playing, Milo, the lovable halfling rogue, he is an alcoholic, and he does have a drug problem. However, I've not actually found my pipe yet, so I'm going to have to try and find a pipe so I can start smoking again. But you can have things like alcohol addiction, drug addiction. You can have things of mental illnesses such as depression, and as long as it's not going to impact too much into your character's social input and things like that, it's
Yeah, I mean, what I would say is it's having a character with disadvantages is by far the most fun. But don't take them so far that the only thing about that character is their disadvantages.
Yeah,
you don't want it in every single thing that you do. You want it to be an aspect of that character.
not the driving force.
Sorry?
You want it as an aspect, not the driving force.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, do it. Have afflictions, have problems, and have your character overcome them. Because I like to do character arc. I like to do a character that at level 1 is got some issue that they can't conceive ever overcoming, and then by 3rd, 4th, 5th level has overcome that problem. That deficiency in their psyche. I like to do that kind of personal development because I think it's a key part of storytelling. And when you play an RPG to tell stories as opposed to win the board game, then that to me is more important. Unless I'm playing Silent Death against my brother, in which case I just want to thrash the fuck out of him.
Well, it's also the thing as well. You've got a campaign that's moving on and things like that. So why wouldn't your character evolve?
Yeah, absolutely. Such as Agnes breaking her oath.
At last.
Yeah, it took such a long time, that.
Oh.
I'm laughing to death. Asks, how do you handle the explanations for magic in your setting? How it came about, what the schools are, what they are? Do I just throw magic shit at a weapon to make it magic? Is this all right? My specific setting, I have elemental magic, but I think in my case, the elements are the stuff that everything is made from. and you're just tapping into the ability to control that because it's elemental magic. In D&D, it's a lot of the worlds explain it, but I don't think you actually have to. Why do you need? Do
Really?
you have to explain an orc? Do you have to explain a hippogriff? I mean, when your players turn up to the table, you're going, "Well, a mummy hippogriff comes along and a daddy hippogriff, and they have cuddles and watch Netflix together, and then out pops baby hippogriff." You don't have to explain or justify everything that's in a magical setting.
The only reason I can think of justifying the magic is if, for whatever reason, every school of magic is, forbidden for one reason or another, possibly excluding one or two, and why them two are not forbidden but the others are. But
Yeah, if it's part of the plot, then absolutely makes sense. And same as like if no, I've forgotten where I was going with that because you were talking. So that's why I interrupted because I had a thought and then I lost it when I started speaking because I love the sound of my voice.
I don't apologise really.
Fuck. So do I right? So what the schools are, what they are. Do I just throw magic shit at a weapon to make it magic? It's an interest. Making magical weapons isn't something D&D doesn't give you an ingredient book.
No.
I've had one campaign where I had players make a magical weapon, and this was a campaign that Brandon did like 6 to 9 hour sessions. 6 to 9, not 69.
69-hour sessions. Wow.
No, between 6 and 9.
Yeah.
Hour sessions. So like big all day type things, and it lasted about 3 sessions making this hammer. And it began with a conversation with a god. The whole thing was all part of the core quest, and making this hammer was apparently the only way to defeat the evil Skytrix, the red dragon that had been terrorizing the world, the dragon god, the sire of all red dragons. And he wanted, what the players didn't know, was he wanted to impress Tiamat so that he could mate with her and create more red dragons, because events early in the story unfolded that a lot of red dragons were killed. Something to do with Medusa and a stone army, and I'm not going to go into it. But anyway, to impress Tiamat last time, he made this godly weapon. Or rather, he had somebody make it.
Yeah.
Because he didn't do it himself. And then gave it as a gift to Tiamat, and that's how he got to mate with her. So in order to outdo himself, to impress her again, he thought, what can I do? I know I will not only get people to make this weapon, but I will actually have the audacity to travel with them and fuck with them the whole time. So I actually got one of the players to play the big bad, something I will never do again.
That could be a bit tricky with that one.
You know what? I think it could have been absolutely fucking epic, but when it came to the final monologue, he didn't. He just wanted to win. He didn't even turn into the dragon.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, what a letdown. It wasn't the final cataclysmic showdown I was hoping for. It because I wasn't in control of that character, I couldn't give the ending that I wanted to do. Instead, we just got him ambush the party by surprise. Ha suckers! I've just set myself up to have 7 attack rolls with the Vorpal Blade. Oh, got it. Bye. What a shame. And I built stunning scenery for it as well. The whole table was amazing. And yeah, and it was just kind of like, well, my opening move, 7 attacks. Oh, Vorpal on the first strike. Bye. It was just, yeah, never again. Never, ever again. But the point is that was a huge quest. It involved them, and the hammer increased in power during the quest. Like as they did each bit, then what they would do is that in this case it was the Norse gods. So they would do this quest for essentially for each god, or to ask for each god to bless the weapon, and that quest was themed around what that god was about. So when it was Freya, they had to do something nice and protecty or something. I forget exactly now. Actually, that was a bad example. When it was Fenrir, they had to actually sacrifice a player. because you got the whole thing with Tyr having sacrificing his hand to Fenrir. So they had to sacrifice a player. They actually had to kill one of the characters. What they did not know was the final boon of the weapon was to become a werewolf.
Right.
To give you all of these super stats for the final battle. That's the moment Skytrix attacks. So anyway, but the point is, I themed every bit after each god by what does that god represent? Quest on that, and then you got that power added to the weapon. But that was my way of doing it, as I say, with gods. Would I have players just throw magic at it? No, because they'd repeat it and they'd go into manufacturing and they'd retire rich as industrialists.
Yeah. I wouldn't let the PCs do it, but if the question is regarding you as a dungeon master making your own magic weapon, the only
I've got a video on that. You should go watch that. It's an awesome tool.
The only thing that I can really recommend is Dungeon Master's Manual, page 129. It talks to you about crafting magical items. Obviously, just ignoring the gold cost and stuff for that. Failing that, page 135 is all about magical items and stuff. So look there for inspiration and just see what happens.
Bollocks to the lot. Check out my magic items video.
Don't do it.
You'll say never welcome back. Lord Morbius asks, regarding D&D characters having no family, I view that as just be responsible. In my younger days, I was an unmarried, childless loner when I enlisted for my military career.
But you still have parents.
Yeah, and cousins and aunts and uncles. You still have leverage for your real-world GM to use against you. Oh, maybe you don't. Maybe that we've just accidentally opened up a whole Pandora's box of childhood traumas. So in which case, I'm really sorry, Lord Morbius. I grew up in an orphanage.
Grew up in a Victorian orphanage.
Sorry. Yeah, you still got. I mean, I'm single now. I'm not married. I have no kids. But I still have a brother who's tuned into this video moaning that I keep beating him at silent death.
It's also friends as well.
Yeah.
You've got friends, so it may not be sort of like blood relatives or relatives like that, but you're still going to have friends and things like that your character can.
Something else I fixed in my game.
Oh.
But I think part of the problem with taking friends in D&D, like having friends to your character, is that quite often these will be seen as you trying to get an advantage in the game. Oh, I know a person. Yeah. But the truth is, the GM should actually force everyone to name a load of friends. Like, right, name 3 friends that you might call on in the game. And establish who they are first.
Yeah, do an establishment and where they live, what they know, things like that, before the players actually know what the campaign's going to be. Because as soon as you say, the campaign's going to be.
Well, they need to know what the campaign world is.
Well, yeah, you'll give them the basics, but you won't sort of say the idea, the full idea of this campaign is you're going along, you need to find X, Y, and Z, and blah blah blah. Because straight away you're going to have 2 people saying, well, my friend knows where this dungeon is, where this sword is, and
of course, we could still have opened another Pandora's box for poor Lord Morbius of childhood traumas, because he might just be like, I was on the computer playing World of Warcraft until 1 o'clock every morning, and I haven't seen sunlight, and the poor bastard's going to be sitting there now crying, and we've just done that to him. I'm really, really sorry. Right, moving on. Your life sucks. Same could apply for D&D adventurers. Was that the rest of the previous?
I think that's all.
Right. If I tune in to watch tomorrow's live stream, will we get to see your cleavage? I've shown you my cleavage tonight. This is my 14-year-old boobs. Get over it.
And I'm not doing a live stream, so you won't see my cleavage.
Yes, indeed.
Sorry.
Isn't it all covered up with hair anyway?
No.
No? You're bare-chested.
Unfortunately.
Now, you can mentally see Matt's cleavage. Have you ever had your players interact with gods? If so, to what extent? Voices in dreams, visions, random encounters table. Miniatures on the fucking table, dude. Hell yes. I like to do epic storylines, and yeah, that means players meeting gods. I've never had players fight gods. If you're playing with power gamers, gods are actually a really useful thing to do because they're the one thing they're sensible enough not to fucking attack. So if you've got a load of if you've got a load of exposition you want to deliver, use a god. Because for once, your players aren't going to go ha and start trying to get one over on the god, trying to outthink them and outtalk them. You know, oh for fuck's sake! But yeah, use gods for that. Um, uh, and whatever you do not stat the god.
No.
If you stat it, they will kill it.
Yes.
But yeah, I've used visions with a witch sequence before. Didn't work as well as I hoped, but you know, it was only not properly planned. I certainly wouldn't put gods on a random encounter table. It's like 3 goblins, 2 kobolds, 1 werebear, a god, Thor. Shit.
Yeah, that could really be an interesting random encounter
Yeah,
table.
yeah. The Lady of Pain.
Yeah. And then if you roll 100, all of them.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't get all of them with the Lady of Pain.
Well, no.
That's some god. Did you ever see that? I forget who it was who did it, but somebody did a video of a cleric who worshipped all the gods. Did you ever see that one? It's a YouTube clip. Oh, it was so funny. His cleric couldn't do anything without pissing off half of his bosses.
I quite like that as a thought. You know, yeah, you don't know which god to worship, so you think, oh, I better worship as many as I can, and then straight away you worship one that's going to piss off one of them, and off, it's going to annoy somebody. So yeah, you're really battling it. Yeah, but in mine, just a really quick one. Do they interact with them? Not directly. I always leave more subtle sort of hints that possibly gods are watching. However, I homebrew all of my gods because I prefer my gods to be much more like the ancient Greek gods. So yes, there is like a god aspect to them, but they do still have their faults.
Yeah, and in my Forged Templars game, my players didn't even know that they were the creator gods. They had no idea. They found out in the last episode, and as soon as they found out, season 2 resumed with them being completely different characters, having now understanding what's going on in the world. So,
wow, what a mindfuck!
Yeah, it was the creator gods in this case. They were dragons. I generally make my own gods. Sometimes I use the Norse gods because they're quite cool. You know. But I mean, I would like to use the Greek gods. I would like to do that.
The main reason I go for Greek gods over most of the other ones is just for the simple fact that they are based around humans. So they do have, you know, the pros. They do have their weaknesses and things like that. And so, even Zeus, the god of, the king of gods sort of thing. He went around and he, had loads of maidens.
He fornicated everywhere. Yes.
Yeah. So it's like you've got a god that you're worshipping, but he still has his weaknesses, sort of thing. Not like gods tend to today, apparently. But hey, I'm not religious.
There are gods today?
Apparently.
I thought there was just belief in them.
Speaking of which, we actually had someone knocking on our door saying that there was a god, and that was when I was eating my tea tonight. So technically, yes, there is a god because he...
and he hates you.
He got my dinner, yeah.
Yeah. I used to really love arguing with Jehovah's Witnesses because I went to a really, really religious primary school. So I know as much scripture as them, only I interpreted it correctly. Hence, I'm no longer religious. Right. As adult dungeon masters with years of gaming experience, what's the strangest place you've ever run a game?
Does that mean the setting?
No, I think he means physical place.
Oh, right.
Like, if we ever run a game in an odd place, how does a buffet meal canteen type place in a hotel sound?
a dining room table.
Most of them, yes.
I'm gonna have to do. Yeah, I'm gonna go find an abandoned warehouse or something.
It would be quite cool to do like a Call of Cthulhu in some like Victorian manor, or even just like in the middle of the woods.
Oh, that could be creepy. Yeah.
That could certainly add something. Being outside in the middle of the night in a forest doing Call of Cthulhu. That actually. Oh fuck me! I've got to do that next Halloween.
It's somebody else's land.
I just do it in a public park.
I'm gonna say it's somebody else's land. So every time you hear a snap, you're going, "Oh shit! Is that him with a gun?"
But no, I'm thinking going to Country Park next Halloween and doing a Call of Cthulhu at like 10 o'clock at night.
That could be good. Yeah.
That could be fucking shit scary. Especially if it's like all werewolves and like forest scenes and stuff. Yeah. But I've run a lot of games in odd places. The vast majority are either in my own games room, a friend's lounge, but I've run games at conventions and which is a different experience entirely, because you really have to have your adventure down. You can't just wing it on a convention game. It's got to be planned to finish in a certain time. You got to have all the characters pre-prepped, which I'm just so not used to that concept. Like making characters that people want. I'd better make 60, just so somebody gets what they want to play. But the weirdest one would have been, it was actually during a convention where we just couldn't get a table, and so we went to a nearby buffet place and role played in there. One of the guys had a D4 on him, so we used that.
Fair enough.
Made up the system on the fly. Well, that's true, because you're so old. Netflix wasn't around then. I mean,
if you are just tuning in, you are going to have to rewatch the entire video to understand that reference.
We are talking about the redhead, right? Oh, you've had more than one redhead, haven't you? You're such a slag. Sorry, slut. Sleeping around all those redheads. Alright, Lord Morbius says, any experiences playing a beholder as a character because of a curved polymorph or something? How about any other monsters? And what was the challenges of playing a non-player? Well, I'd say beholder too powerful outright. It's not like you could masquerade as a human. I do have one almost doppelgangerish experience, but no, I'm not going to explain it. Not because I don't want to answer your question, but because I think I'm going to run it an ode to that game at some point on my channel, and I don't want to blow the twist. But yeah, the playing, like I said earlier, I did that NPC who was, or yeah, Skytrix the Red Dragon, who travelled with the party, and that was a huge mistake. I don't know. I'm kind of hoping that, because that group traditionally has aired more towards the power game side. Now I know some members of the group are starting to air more towards the story side with me. So hopefully I can talk to the rest. Maybe they'll come over to our side too. It's light over here, you Sith lords. So we'll see. But I think with the right group, it can be done. I've had NPCs who were at times with the players and at times against, but I'm not sure about playing a character like that. Yeah, I don't know. How about you, Matt?
The most I've ever done as a polymorph or allowed to polymorph are basic things like goblins, possibly an orc, something like that. I've never gone into beholders just because I then sit there thinking, if you allow a player to polymorph into something like a beholder, are they expecting to have their characteristics? And then you've got to try and explain, no, you're not. You're polymorphed as a beholder, so you're just you. And
yeah, I mean, I've seen polymorph other in first edition used to become a dragon many a time, But of course, you don't get the breath weapon. You don't get any of the mental stats.
You're you as a
Or the
dragon.
mental abilities,
Yeah.
but you do get the physical stats. So of course, the advantage of that, one person becomes a dragon, A, you're quite hard, and B, you can give a lift to the rest of the party. But then you've got to ask the question, somebody's got this physical power and their own mind. Surely, after a while, as Polymorph Others as a permanent spell, aren't they going to start to get a little more arrogant and start taking on some of those draconic characteristics? Because frankly, these people you're carrying around on your back because you're their pet are weak by comparison.
But then you've got that flip side of the coin as well of, you know, reverting to things like The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. I'm going to turn into a dragon. I'm just going to carry the entire party right the way through into the gates of into the gates of Mordor, and win the campaign in, you know, in the first 2 sessions. You know? So if you're going to do something like that, possibly give it sort of like a time limit, so you can only polymorph as something as big as a dragon for a particular amount of time. So you have to stop trying.
Yeah, but I think if you're doing something like first edition where Polymorph Other is a permanent spell, I think you can't, you know, it's kind of as written, and I wouldn't go against it personally, but I have seen it used very well. I was playing this game where the GM insisted one of us play a cleric, and I was like, but the level you're playing at, if I'm going to be a healer, I would much rather play a druid, A, because it's more fun, B, because they're more fun, C, because they're actually more powerful as healers, and D, because the only thing a cleric can do is turn undead is they're undead. You know, because everything else the druid can do. He says, no, you need the resurrect. It's like, but the druid has reincarnate. Yeah, but it's unreliable. It's like, I want to play the druid. Sorry, I much prefer to play a druid than a cleric. So okay, eventually, I compromised and played both. But when it eventually came to the player dying, despite having a cleric and a druid, I wouldn't play both at the same time. You see, I'd always have one asleep or something in the background because you can't play a character if you're doing both. But when it eventually came to a player needing resurrection, they actually chose to have the druids reincarnate anyway, because they could have come back as something that gave them a stat bonus. What they actually got, however, was was an eagle, just an ordinary eagle.
Right.
Because it's quite random and you roll and stuff. So then we use Polymorph Alpha to change it back to his current form. So, job done. So can I get rid of the cleric now, please, GM? and you know what? He never put undead in. Do you find that in character chat and out of character chat in games is not always clearly defined and can cause confusion? Do players have to indicate who is talking in your games? Yes, it can be unclearly defined. I have a rule that one of my groups completely ignores, and I keep repeating it and they keep ignoring it, but hopefully one day it'll stick. If a player is talking to another player, it is in character. There is times to chat and, you know, be not, if that's when you're not talking about the game. When you're talking about things you want to do, when you're discussing tactics, you are doing it in character. I've always held back from doing it, but one of these days I'm just gonna snap. Inside, not verbally, you know, rah! One of these days, what will happen is I'll go, right, so initiative, you got 18, right, but you're talking to him. So, and of course, you know what they're going to do. In fact, I think I even have got that far, and just to make a point, and then, you know what they do? They complain and say, no, my actual action is, no, you were talking to him. Yes, but right in character. Yes, should have been. You know, it's not my fault you're a shit role player. You know, it's yeah, it bothers me a lot. Most of my groups are pretty good at it. You know, on the whole. Obviously, we'll you know, at the end of the day, you've got friends that it's like you're playing a game of cards and having a chat. There is other conversation going on at the table, and if you ban it completely, you're not getting that social part of it, which would be wrong. So it's very clearly game conversation should be in character. And I'll even allow a little leeway in terms of it's not your turn to act, but sure, have a little discussion, just do it in character. And if you don't have a special voice or a personality trait to your character that makes it obvious when you're in character, then you're not role playing. You don't have to have a voice, but you have to have something that distinguishes that character from you. Otherwise, you're just playing a power fantasy, and you'd be better off playing World of Warcraft in your underwear.
You don't like World of Warcraft, do you?
I was never a big fan. I played it up to I think it was level 57, and by that point I was utterly bored.
Yeah.
Uh, I much preferred the earlier game EverQuest because you had to have a group, and it was kind of both a boon and a curse. Like you needed a healer, you needed a slower. In some places you needed a crowd controller, you needed a tank, and you needed some damage dealers.
Yeah.
And so the problem with EverQuest was the groups of 6 people. It needed to be a flexibility between 6 and 8 because oftentimes you'd be standing there looking for a group for 2 or 3 hours. And I quite liked Dungeons and Dragons online for a little while, but I did find it a bit childish with all the Warforged and pirates. And, but anyway, sorry, what were we talking about? We've answered that, haven't we? Let's move on.
Confusing.
Sorry?
Things being confusing.
I'm confused. Moving on. Natural 20 Games. Hello. Do you have a favourite phrase when running a campaign? By which I mean when the player characters are still low level at middle levels. Oh, favourite phase. I thought it said phrase. Favourite phase. I was like, what, a catchphrase? Well, most groups get them occasionally, I'm thinking, as I'm reading the question. But no, a favourite phase. Do I prefer low, middle, or epic levels? I most definitely prefer low level play. Middle is kind of okay. For me, D&D gets far too mechanical the higher up in levels you go, and beyond about 10th, it's just not worth playing.
Yeah, it can. Yeah, it can be a little bit like that. Personally, I prefer low levels. I just find it more interesting.
The thing is, though, I love epic storylines.
Yeah, I do like the epic storylines, but you can be a low-level character in the middle of an epic storyline. You can be, referring to something like Lord of the Rings. You can be sort of like one of the, the Rohan guards or something like that. Even though Aragorn is walking past you, you can still have your individual little story being a sort of like a lower level, knowing that the few trolls and goblins and stuff that you're helping to kill is working towards the grand scheme of things rather than being the
But
one.
I think actually even around 5th, 6th level, you can still really kind of do the epic stuff because you're actually pretty powerful at that stage.
Well, I've got to say, yeah. One of the ones that I'm doing at the moment is a rogue, and we've just hit in Jenny's campaign. We've just hit level 3, and some of the stuff that all of the classes get at level 3 is just really starting to, even just from level 2 to level 3, really makes your damage jump up, your hit points jump up, and things like that. So I do sometimes question myself if they have balanced leveling low levels too much.
Well, it kind of, I think there's a gap in the monster manual because, like, at level 5 or 6, you can take an ancient green dragon. You can't take a red at that stage without some serious help from the GM.
Yeah.
Which I did actually get 3. Was it 3 or 4 players? 3, I forget. Second level players to take out an ancient red dragon, but it started with 10 hit points and didn't breath weapon them.
So he just basically just stood there and occasionally clawed at them.
No, not even that, because they had to kill it so quickly because it would have done damage. So I gave it a gaping wound to begin with. But
why didn't you just tie its arms and legs together as well?
The point was to have Jenny's character, because she was AFK a session. She went on holidays. The point was for her to come back and find herself sleeping in the arms of a red dragon. The point wasn't to kill it. They just had to do that to get out of the situation. Yeah, I'm that kind of bitch. It kind of fitted the story. But yeah, no, at 5th, 6th level, you can kill an ancient green dragon. So you're already doing some pretty high level stuff. You can kill an aboleth and stuff in a group. So that's already pretty epic. I don't use adult dragons. I don't use young dragons or hatchlings. If you're gonna put a dragon in, make it a fucking ancient one.
Yeah.
Okay. Otherwise, there's no bloody point. It's got to be a proper fight. Otherwise, dragons are just trivial. But what's missing in D&D is like a really hard race of people that are like level 4, level 5 as individual characters. I mean, don't get me wrong, if they were in D&D, it would totally break it. But, your game world's going to be shit. They'd have to be the slowest reproducing things everywhere. Otherwise, why aren't they the apex predator?
Well, yeah, exactly.
But actually, D&D doesn't work anyway, in an ecosystem sense, because in every ecosystem ever, like, people think it's a pyramid, like you got lots of the weak ones and then just one at the top. Actually, that's not how reality works. In every marine conservation area we have, the biomass is 95% the apex predator. So you go to a marine conservation area, what you find is lots of fucking sharks. Okay, why? They're the apex predator. So and that's why there's so many humans. 95% biomass is either human or human controlled. So D&D doesn't work. It couldn't work. It'd be 95% red dragons. Although that's exactly what I did in my game world, and it worked. Or one of my game worlds, I had loads of dragons. That was the one with the Skytrix thing, and I had to get rid of them all with
if you're going to do something like that, where you do have an amazing shit ton of things like dragons going around, the dragons aren't going to be, hey, how you doing? High five. The dragons are going to be fighting each other to try and, in their hierarchical system, try and, become the alpha and things like that.
They're going to be fighting each other to figure out who gets the right to eat you.
Exactly.
But yeah, but the problem is there aren't that many monsters at that challenge rank, sort of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 kind of. There's individual creatures that you would find by themselves, but not creatures you would find in multiple.
The way the way I look at it is they've put too many in sort of like the 1/8, 1/4, and half. There's a few that you can get in sort of like 1 and 2, and then after that, like you say, it is a jump up to sort of like 5, 6, and beyond sort of thing. So it is a struggle, and I know people go, oh yeah, well you just put them in mobs and swarms and stuff. It's like, yeah, but I want something different than a swarm of.
Yeah, sometimes you want 2 or 3 creatures. You want that kobold plus, not kobold. Oh crikey, that just totally. Null plus.
Null, thank you.
A null plus, not null. Null plus. That's
null
what
plus.
You want. Null plus. Yes. Yeah, it's like Neanderthal humans and modern day Neanderthals. Not human at all. They just look at smartphones. Next question. I like to think clerics have, it's 20 to 10. So what I'm going to do, we're not going to do many more questions, okay? Because like we're running like close to my bedtime. So we're gonna. I'm just trying to have a little look at how much more we've got. There's okay. Right, really quickly then.
Okay.
Right, turbo answers. I like to think clerics tend to have one chief deity they worship, but are willing to pay homage to and work with clerics of other deities that share their domains. I think you're missing an opportunity to be a zealous bigot, because look at all the religions of the world. You got ISIS won't even tolerate Christians. They're the same freaking religion. One is literally the child of the other. Christians, to a large extent, aren't too hot on the Jews. Again, Jews are the parents. Christianity is the child. They hate each other. I think this whole thing with religion, they have real bad parent issues. So the religions don't tolerate each other, and I think if you do that, you're missing an opportunity to bring. I mean, religions, they hate everyone. They hate gay people. They hate people who eat misshapen grapes. Or is that just the Jews? Yeah, and then there's that whole thing. No, seriously, that's a rule in the Torah. What? Oh, next question.
No answers. Come on, we're going into religion now.
Yeah.
I do agree. Yeah, I personally think that if you're going to have a cleric, have them picking one, and then they've got some sort of dislike for most of the others. But
have either of you run a Call of Cthulhu scenario for a D&D group? If so, how did you handle things like sanity loss in D&D? Well, I played Call of Cthulhu with a D&D group, but we played Call of Cthulhu. So I've done a game with sanity loss. It was every time they followed a particular quest line, they lost some sanity. It was a stat. It was randomly rolled.
Mm-hmm.
When it got to 0, they got one of the afflictions from the book, and then they rolled the stat again and began over. Wow. This terrified the players so much they refused to investigate anything. So don't do it. How about you, Matt?
I've kept the two separate personally, but possibly could be an interesting thought.
Of course, deities exist, Becky. There's one on my screen right now.
Thank you.
As a DM, the strangest place I've ever ran a game was in a foxhole in the pouring rain, sitting in 2 feet of standing water, rolling dice in a plastic cup until interrupted by incoming mortar fire. Well, that's your own fault for signing up. Fighting wars for the benefit of politicians and their chums to earn lots of money. Bet you feel sorry for yourself now, huh? Who's the smart one? Huh? Sorry, no, I'm just upsetting my most loyal viewer. Having torn into pieces earlier and opened the Pandora's box of his childhood traumas twice already. I definitely can't equal that one.
That's going to take some beating, I think.
We weren't there, man. We weren't there. Hello. You missed it.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah.
Hello.
These are easy.
Yeah, easy. Oh, fuck! I missed one. Hang on. No, that was my brother as well.
Brother, yeah. Don't worry about that one. I saw a name.
What?
I saw a name. I think it was Lisa. I saw.
Ah, yes, Lisa. She used to love playing patty cake.
Oh God.
Wow, you really were cradle snatching that one, weren't you, bro? Yes, her name was Lisa. I don't play RPG. Sorry, I was just getting the Roger Rabbit one. I don't play tabletop RPGs that have leveling in them, so I'm guessing I prefer low-level characters. You know what? I don't like the leveling system either, which is why in my homebrew I've done away with it. I've got to start plugging that more.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking my question. I'm also a fan of epic storylines. I love when low-level characters realize that their little pick-up-and-deliver quest has the fate of the realm at stake. Cheers! Wow. Cheers to you, too. Thank you for asking. It'd be a crap show without you. Hi! Hey, all. I don't think there was that many after all. Hey!
Really not.
Salutations.
Oh, we're getting posh now.
He is. He's upped his game somewhat.
He's showing off now.
Yeah. I took mortars and an O-level in English. You big fans. Okay. Click the like button, everybody. Share some love with our DMs. Yes, do it. And subscribe. I want to get to 1,000 subscribers. So we have 10 people watching right now. That's really cool. Hello, everyone.
Still watching.
Hello.
Jesus.
And we're kind of winding it down now. So because we have managed to get through all of the live chat. So I'm going to switch the system off. Wow. So if there's any more live chat, I'm afraid we're not going to answer it today because really, 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 there has been more live chat. But it wasn't a question. It's okay. But actually, this one I do want to take. Trenton Maloney asks, "How's the necropolis coming?" Because yes, last year I sculpted the floor of a necropolis. Okay, I have finished the base build in that I have 2 floor designs and a wall design. They're painted, they're finished, and I think there has been pictures of them on my page. But the alternative floor sculpt is waiting for my brother to give me my Christmas present so I can make the mold.
Well, you've been taking the piss out of him all stream, so it might be a little while longer yet.
It's gonna go off. Fuck's sake. Because like I didn't buy any of the mold making stuff because I thought this Christmas present is gonna arrive. You know. Didn't. Didn't come. I waited forever. so so I haven't been able to make the mold of the floor. It's sculpted. There's no mold, and I haven't cast it. So yeah. So the actual skull bone floor part isn't done, but the walls are. So yeah, that's how that's coming. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've been Becky Rose Dungeon Gal. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. Please. Sorry, the video was stuck there. That was
Right.
that was a glitch. That was a glitch.
Okay.
Please subscribe. Because it means so much to me because I'm like a really emo person that I need 1,000 subscribers. Actually, I need 5,000 because at 5,000 I can go to YouTube, and that's why I'm doing this channel so I can go to YouTube, which is at Google because Google own YouTube, and then I can go to the Google office, right? Which I really want to do because I did it once with work, and that was cool and everything. And Google's a really cool place to go and stuff, but then my company keeps doing these trips to Google and not inviting me.
How rude.
Right. So, and they go off to also, they go Google London, Google Dublin, and Google New York, or wherever it was. No, somebody went to the headquarters over in California. Anyway, I want to go back to Google without my firm, so I can go, oh yeah, I was at Google at the weekend. Yeah. Oh, what was I there for? Oh, I was there on my own merit, not with the company. Yeah. And that's it. That is why I have a YouTube channel. Right? I need 5,000 subs just so I can go to somebody at work. That's it. 4 years of my life. No, I'm what, a year in, aren't I? So yeah. Say goodbye, Matt.
Bye, Matt. Thanks for watching, everybody. Cheers.
Bye bye.